either Nancy, Jim, or whoever needs it. I will put it in a YouTube video, make it private, and then send it all to you guys when it's done converting. So,
okay.
Are you all seeing my bright orange screen clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And how much time do I have with you all this morning?
An hour.
An hour. Awesome. Well, I will keep things pretty efficient because I want to leave plenty of time for questions and answers. So I've actually cut down my normal PowerPoint because I know, obviously being Kellum clients, you guys are at least a little bit familiar with Higher Logic, but I'll do a good overview of giving you an idea of more from a platform perspective, what it is, how it might benefit you all, and actually spend some time, more importantly, in the software itself so we can dig around and have fun in there. So I put together some potential impact areas for you all in terms of, just from my previous conversations with everyone, where exactly we see Higher Logic fitting into the fold here. Obviously, we're an online community and an engagement platform, right? So we're obviously a piece of technology that was built to help facilitate engagement, as well as networking for associations, right? For members, for constituents, whatever you want to call them. So obviously that's a no-brainer for us. But for you all specifically, I think we're envisioning and picturing communities to help support your various committees, your councils, your special interest groups, and your chapters. Obviously, imagine a collaboration hub or a central place where members of each one of these various working groups can come and collaborate, work on documents, share documents. These groups were formed for a particular purpose. Why not give them the tools to be successful and build a one-stop shop where they can access that critical information and actively engage with other folks part of that group. So wanting to think about communities for that, as well as all of the analytic and reporting, and more importantly, the business intelligence that you all are going to get due to our integration with I4A, your database. So, not only having world-class tools and features in the front end, but being able to own all of that data that we're producing in the back end. So you guys can slice and dice it, understand what members are talking about, what committees are doing, what documents are being shared, to give you guys more data to inherently make better data-driven decisions, and then increased awareness and engagement around your events and education. I know you all do a ton with online education. Let's promote these different offerings you have. Let's build communities around your different events, around any different educational pieces you guys may have, whether it's webinars, course taking. Let's build communities for those different constituents who sign up for those offerings and help them, get more out of that offering that you guys already have. So think about community and social learning as one blended solution. And then overall, increasing engagement, retention, and new member acquisition. If there's room for growth, if there's any issues with member fall off, a community is a great tool to help with those different issues or goals you might have with the platform. So a lot of our organizations are most successful with these last metrics because you build a community for functionality, but you also build a community for the bottom line. What value is this going to bring for the organization? And Higher Logic does a really good job of aligning with those goals and providing a tailored solution that will coincide with those different business needs. And those are just some things that I've come up with just based on my previous conversations with you all. And if there's any questions throughout this entire presentation, I said this before, but please feel free to interrupt and jump in and ask those questions. I like to keep it pretty conversational, so if you don't hesitate to jump in. So what does this mean for you all? Ultimately, when you partner with Higher Logic, you get an engagement partner. You have one partner who purely focuses on ways to better engage with your members. And what we like to call this sort of graphic you see on the screen now is holistic engagement, right? It's not force-feeding engagement. Members aren't going to have one way to engage. We provide them many different avenues to engage within our platform and with your overall organization. So building a repository for knowledge and knowledge sharing online, that's a no-brainer. If you guys in the future want to take advantage of Higher Logic's volunteering opportunities or volunteering platform, you have that option. We have tons of best practices that I've already spoken about around how to improve your events and your educational offerings. And then, of course, building communities for your different advocacy efforts, so committees and councils, special interest groups, to help them do their jobs and complete their tasks at a more efficient rate. So in terms of the solution itself, primarily what we're going to be focusing on today is everything you all see in the gray on the left side of the screen. So our core solution, what you would get out of the box when signing with Higher Logic. And I'll go through the things on the left individually, and then I'll pause to see if you have questions on them. So really at the center of the graphic there is the discussion groups. The reason it's at the center is because the discussion groups are the core piece of engagement, where engagement really is spewed from. So obviously a discussion group is really that tangible piece of technology where members can go within your existing website to post questions, start conversations, and do so in an intuitive way. So the cool thing about Higher Logic is that we actually blend what was good about an old school listserv, but we bring it into a community. What that means is that with a discussion group, you don't have to be logged into the website or the community to actually see what's going on or actually engage with the conversations that's going on within the community. So if members have the ability to read and reply to emails, they can actively participate within a Higher Logic discussion. And I'll show you what that looks like in the demo. Beyond that, everything is 100% responsive with Higher Logic. Don't have to worry about our platform being mobile friendly. It works on any smartphone, any device, anywhere, anytime. Again, you guys will be able to build as many individualized communities as you'd like. So within each one of those communities, you can have an individualized resource library. Think about a resource library as a file repository. Any valuable documentation you all see fit or members want to upload can be held within the resource library, where there can be organized, tagged, labeled, categorized, so members know where to go when to find that key piece of information. The event calendars are really unique to Higher Logic. So IOPP may have a national event calendar, international event calendar within your main website. We're not going to replace that. The Higher Logic event calendar is personalized and unique per the individual logging in when he or she logs in. So because we know who your members are when they log in due to integration, we're going to create a personalized experience, but most importantly, a personalized event calendar experience depending on who that member is. So if I'm Steve and I'm part of the board of directors committee and we have a community just for the board of directors, I'm going to be seeing events on my calendar based on the fact that I belong to that group, as opposed to Jim. Jim belongs to the membership committee, and you have a community for the membership community. He's going to see events on his calendar relative to the fact that he's that type of member. So we personalize that overall experience. If you guys want to do anything with blogging, we have a blogging capability. And think about a wiki glossary as a digital textbook for keyword or industry terms. Obviously, we have directories where members can search and find one another. And everything within the community is gamified as well through gamification. And gamification, it's a simple word, but it means a lot of things within Higher Logic. So gamification could be, rewarding members with engagement points. So when they do different things within the community, let's give them a certain amount of points for doing that specific task. Maybe we have a most active members board and highlighting your champion members. Maybe we give somebody a digital badge for when they attend your in-person meeting, or for when they earn that certification, or for when they take that course or watch that webinar. Let's recognize that through digital badges and ribbons. We'd already talked about the analytics and reporting in the back end and giving you all the data so you can leverage to make better data-driven decisions. But when it comes to functionality behind Higher Logic and our core solution, and a piece of technology that our clients probably love more than anything else we offer is what you all see in the top left corner, which is our automation rules. The automation rules are essentially our own native marketing automation system built into the back end of Higher Logic, which enables you to automate much of the once manual processes that are key and necessary to making sure that the community is active, that folks log in. There's a lot of workflows that we have probably built up around 8 or 9 years now to ensure that members continue along a journey and continuously do things within the community. And I'm going to talk about this again in a couple of minutes, but I wanted to pause for one quick second and see if you all had any questions for me on the solutions or features you all see on the left side of the screen.
Are you going to do the presentation similar to the one you did before with the 3 modules on the top and the 3 on the bottom?
So in terms of the additional features that I showed last time in 2 different slides. Yep. So I've consolidated things.
And Jim and Sarah helped me, but the 2 that I think IOPP would be most interested in are the mentor match and expert directory or volunteer manager.
Gotcha. I'm just writing these down.
We were kind of undecided on one. On one or the other. We were looking at both of them.
Yep.
And we were kind of undecided on the second one.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're really thinking the mentor match is something that we want to talk about. The other 2 are.
I know when we met 6 months ago or a year ago, we had kind of called out gamification, and where was that gonna?
Yep, and this is the format that's going to allow us to do the micro-credentialing. This is, yep.
Yeah, no, I could touch upon all those things, and I appreciate you bringing those to my attention. I will touch on gamification again, as well as mentoring, the mentor match module, expert directory, and I'll show you the volunteer manager as well. And those will make a lot more sense in the live demo. But yeah, no, thank you for pointing those out, and I'll make sure to show you them when I break out into the demo environment today. Any other questions on anything on the core left side of the screen, or even on the right side while we're at it?
They're shaking heads.
Nope, I think we're good.
I'll take silence as a no. That looks great. So I wanted to not going to beat a dead horse here, but I really want to talk about the automation rules one more time, just to really clarify and really kind of hone in on the power and then the importance of this particular piece of software. So again, the automation rules, to recap, it's our own native marketing automation tool built into the back end of HireLogic. And these rules operate on the mentality of being able to send the right message to the right member at the right time, depending on who that member is and the things they either have or have not done within the community. These are all automated workflows coming mostly in the form of emails going directly to members, seemingly coming from someone on IOPP staff. So you may be wondering, well, we have the community, how do we ensure that members log in and use it? Well, leverage one of our automation rules. In fact, it's one of our best practice automation rules in the form of an onboarding process. So many of our most successful clients leverage the automation rules to automate the process behind onboarding new members, either when you grow over time or when we introduce the community in the beginning. So let's say Jim's a brand new member, or Jim, you're one of the key members that, is within the community now when we first launch it, whenever that happens. How do we get Jim involved? Well, he's going to get email, let's say from IOPP's president saying, hey, Jim, this is one of our newest offerings within IOPP. It's your brand new online member community. It's an awesome resource built specifically for you. Log in and introduce yourself to the rest of your peers for the first time. Jim is a busy man. Let's say it takes 3 or 4 days. He actually hasn't logged in yet. He's going to get another message, say from maybe the president or the community manager this time, saying, hey, Jim, still notice you haven't taken a moment to log in and introduce yourself. Look at this awesome conversation going on. I thought you'd be interested in it. So then Jim finally logs in. He introduces himself to the community for the first time. Maybe a day later, he gets another message from the community manager saying, hey, thank you so much for contributing. Your post looks awesome. But hey, Jim, I noticed you didn't upload your profile picture within the community. You're 40% more likely to get a response to this original post if you had a profile picture. So then Jim logs in again, and he takes that next step. So the idea is that we're going to work a member up this commitment curve you see on the screen to get Jim, specifically in this instance, to get him to do more complex things than the community over time. As you can imagine, these are all automated workflows. So you can set up campaigns around dues renewals, letting people know when to sign up for that webinar, when to sign up for your annual meeting. All these once manual processes that are meant to save you all time, because you don't have to tediously reach out to members to get them to do things. It actually limits the amount of emails that members get in reality. But when they do get emails, they're meaningful to them. They seemingly come from someone real, and they get them to do something specific, and they're really, really successful. Any questions on the automation rules?
So the automation rules, you have a great curve there with the different things that we're trying to get people to do. We determine what those are. This is just an example, right?
100%, absolutely.
Although I like it that we're making more full.
Yeah, ready for that. You guys will have our help as well during implementation and throughout our entire relationship to understand what automation rules would be the best ones for you to leverage to coincide with whatever goals you may have. Okay, so continuing forward, I'm going to skip ahead. I'm actually going to break out into the demo itself, but I want to see if you guys had any questions or anything I need to address before I jump out.
All heads nodding no.
Cool. Awesome. So give me one moment.
Hey, Steve, while you're doing that, we'll put you on mute for just a second.
Sure.
Okay,
All right,
we're ready.
we're back online.
Sorry.
That's okay, no worries at all. Are you guys seeing a demo community right now on your screen?
IOPP Connect.
Absolutely. And Jim, as I've said before, your actual community might look entirely different from this because this is something that I put together. Again, no technical skills here on my end. This took me about 5 to 10 minutes, so you can imagine if anyone at Kellen or IOPP has technical skills, there's a lot they can do with this. But your community can be called something different. It can have different logos, colors, navigation, sub-navigation, all these different boxes can be moved around. So just realize that yours might look entirely different. But the first thing to note on this page is that I'm already authenticated and logged in through my same single sign-on, same login that I have for I3A, same sign-on. I'm already logged in as Steve, the member, here within the top right corner. So the key to, again, I know I mentioned this before, the key to making a really quality community experience and a compelling experience that enables and encourages members to continuously log in is exposing interesting and relative content to them right from the get-go. So you'll be seeing a latest discussions tab here, or box here. This is the latest discussions, so the latest things happening inside of the communities that I specifically belong to. So in this instance, I'm seeing the open forum conversations, but if I belong to a committee or board of directors and we have communities for those, or a section or chapter, I'd be seeing those conversations from those groups because that's what's important to me. That's what makes the most sense for me. Because Higher Logic knows who you are when you log in, we can tailor that experience. As we continue down here, maybe you have a member of the month, the system's smart enough to welcome me back. We want to make it inherently very easy for members to do basic but significant things within the community. Maybe I'm going to set up my profile for the first time through this major action button. Maybe I'm going to start a discussion post, share a file to the resource library. Maybe I want to expand my network, connect with those folks that I met in person last week at our annual meeting, connect with them in the community and continue that networking conversation I had in person. We can leverage your existing social media footprint by pulling in your Facebook page here and your Twitter feed. Promoting the community within those outlets is a best practice in order to encourage folks around those sites to come and take a look and dig around the community. You guys would have the ability to make changes on your own as well. Higher Logic's platform was essentially built on top of our own proprietary content management system. So you have all the bells and whistles of a full website essentially. So you can promote your mentoring program or a speaker program. You can embed different videos. You can have a video dedicated to why you should be a mentor. You'll see a list of upcoming events here. And again, this is specific for me based on the type of member I am. When we talk about gamification, here's a great example of that down here. Here's a list of our most active members. And you can see engagement points based on how active these folks are. So you see that Liam and Steve are up here. I actually used to be on this list. I'm not sure why I'm not on here anymore. I went on vacation for a week, and it's kind of bugging me a little bit. So it's actually making me more motivated to do more meetings. And that's an example of me. If IOPP members are naturally competitive, which I assume some of them are, they're going to be proud to be on this list. This is some simple gamification that will encourage further use from both your champion members who are promoted here and other members who aren't recognized on this list just quite yet. So if we continue up and we actually dive into the community specifically, you guys again will be able to build as many communities as you'd like. You can have you can have unlimited number of members, unlimited number of communities within our platform as well. In each one of these individualized communities, whether it's for a chapter, a board of directors, a committee, a special interest group, or an open forum, each one of these various communities can have its own individualized security setting around them. So the open forum can be truly open. It's where all members can come to talk about general topics. The board of directors community, that should probably be a private community. And if it was, and I suggest it actually should be, if the board of directors was a private community, I would have no idea this community existed. I wouldn't be able to actually dive into this community if I was not serving on the board of directors. And then in between those two options of private and public, you can have a semi-private community. Let's say the volunteer community was semi-private. I attempt to join this semi-private community. I would not be allowed in until someone on IOPP staff or Kellen decided that I was allowed to be in the specific group. So if we dive into the all-member forum as an example, looks somewhat similar to the homepage, but again, a community just for the specific group of people, where you're having latest discussion posts, you're seeing the latest shared files. It literally takes 2 clicks to upload one file as well. All I have to do is click upload file, and it brings in this intuitive tool where I can drag and drop files from my desktop, choose files from my computer overall, all these different sources here on the left side of the screen. Literally 2 or 3 clicks and one document has been uploaded. I have the ability to download a community vCard here. This essentially will create a unique email address specific to this particular community, where it enables me to save that email address to whatever email tenant I use, so I can directly start conversations for this community without being logged in directly from my email inbox. You can also reply to emails or reply to conversations from emails as well, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. So if we open a discussion post, you'll see that Sarah created a user for you, was a little bit active today, earlier today, in this community, where I took a piece of content, embedded a picture. You guys can embed live videos as well, or not live videos, you can embed videos. And you can see that Sarah was the one behind this. As a member, I can do a few things with this. I can decide to like this post. Once I like it, I can see what other members have liked it. Maybe I want to connect with them. I can choose to reply to this discussion right within this interface. I can promote this post, pin this post. I can also mark this post as inappropriate. This is some self-member moderation built into the platform. So if I was another member seeing this post, and I think Sarah should not have posted this, this was inappropriate for me, I can mark this as inappropriate. And if I actually hit this button, this post will be taken down in real time and then sent to a moderation queue where someone on your staff can decide whether to keep it up or take it down once they review it. If Sarah is a bad egg, you can actually put Sarah in full moderation as well, so anything has to go through approval before going live to the rest of the community. And you can also put full communities on moderation as well. But say I wasn't logged in and I wanted to see what was going on within the community. Cool thing is that Higher Logic blends what was good about an old school listserv in the sense that you can actively engage within a Higher Logic discussion directly from an email inbox. So if we go down, you'll see that, where is it? Here it is. That same post that Sarah started from the community came directly to me in an email, right? And members, so essentially this is bringing that content directly to me, and members have the opportunity to subscribe to a real-time email, a daily email, or a weekly email for the communities that they belong to. All I have to do, say I want to contribute to this discussion, all I have to do to actively engage and reply to this discussion is hit reply within Outlook and say something along the lines of, you know, great post, thanks for sharing, or whatever my reply is. Hit send, in about 10 or 15 seconds or so, that reply from email will populate perfectly underneath Sarah's post as if Steve was logged in. Cool thing is that all of our discussions from every community are archived and stored for the future. So if I want to see all the conversations that have gone on within the open forum, I can see that complete list here. It's a lot of conversations. You'll see that this particular post has a paperclip next to it, and that's when somebody uploads a document with their specific discussion post. You can see that Liam uploaded a picture of him and I from an on-site from a couple of months ago. I can download this document for myself. I can add comments and tags and keywords manually. The cool thing is that if Liam were to upload a document that had content inside of it, maybe a Word document or a PDF, the system is smart enough to actually look inside of each document automatically and pull keywords on its own. Makes things more searchable, helps members find that particular library item that they were looking to find. If I go back to the library itself, I can see all the different documents that have been uploaded to the community, whether in a list format or how I prefer to view the library is a folder view. So this is all the documents that have been uploaded to the open forum. Let's use an example here. Let's say the board of directors has a community and they want to track meeting minutes. So because we support as many folders and subfolders as you'd like, you can have meeting minutes from 2016, from Q4 of 2016, and maybe from October of 2016. Just to give you an example of how you can label, tag, and categorize all these various documents. If you go back to the community homepage, you'll see that my reply from email, like I said it would, populated beneath Sarah's original post as if I was logged in. If I serve on a committee, maybe I can get a badge for that as well. If I want to continue the conversation within the interface, it's really easy to do so. I can say, you know, continuing conversation. And the cool thing is we have @mentions similar to Twitter. So I can actually mention Sarah in this conversation, and once I do this, she'll get pinged within her inbox saying, hey, you were mentioned in this conversation. Come and log in and see what's going on, or whatever the message might be. So the idea is that we bring the content directly to members so they can actively be engaged and know what's going on within their respective communities at any point in time. Every one of your members is going to get their own social profile. There means to have a voice and a stamp within the community and the overarching organization, where they can upload fun things like a profile picture. They can update their demographic information manually with all these different options here, and you guys decide what these are. They can sync up their LinkedIn information if they so please. But the really cool thing is that because we're going to be integrating with your database, you all on the staff can decide which demographics to pull over manually from the database and put into HireLogics. So members are never going to have to start from scratch when it comes to their profile, which is really cool. The even more cool thing is that if I were to update my contact information within HireLogic, that change would not only reflect in HireLogic, that change would reflect in your database as well, and vice versa. It's all one fluid system that just works together. If we're talking about gamification here are some examples. I have ribbons for being a chapter president, or serving on a committee, or tweeting a lot. I have all these different things recognizing me as a champion member. Say I replied to Sarah's post, and Sarah's post was actually a question. Sarah may want to vet me and look at my profile and see whether or not that answer has some validity behind it. So you'll see that, hey, Steve knows what he's doing. He has this amount of experience. He has all these different ribbons and badges for being a champion member. I trust his answer. And if I really want to ask him more questions, I actually can send Steve a message directly as well. We can also gamify where a member and how a member spends his or her time. So you can see, based on this graphic here, how many discussion posts Steve has, how many volunteer opportunities he's done, how many engagement points he's accumulated, and how much more he needs to do to get his next achievement. You can see who Steve is connected with within the community through my contacts here. These are all essentially my approved friends within the community. You can see other folks who serve on a committee. I could send these folks direct messages. Or say George was a bad egg and I don't like George anymore. I can remove him as a contact.
George.
And then networks as well.
Quick question while you were there. You showed not a pie graph because it's just, but the round, how the member spends their time.
Yeah.
Is there a way to aggregate that as an organization to know in general how our members, or is it just member by member?
Yeah, no, are you talking about maybe reports in the back end that you can see?
Yep.
User activity reports to show how exactly, where the most used areas are and how they're being used?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to preface, I'm not an expert in the reporting engine in the back end, but there's a lot you can do, and there might be some staff on Kellen who knows this better than I do, but there are tons of reports in terms of possibilities for you can see what members are doing. You can have an overarching engagement report, right? So you can see through some metrics here how engaged your community is, what engagement looks like, what's the trend over time, what are the engagement factors, and who are the most engaged users. So this is a user by user how active folks are. We could also pull reports specific to discussions. So you can look at discussion reports and see all discussion subscriptions. So if you see that over time more people are subscribing to subscription, that gives you a direct metric for about how much you've grown over time. You can see all these different discussion reports based on contributions per discussions, and all these different things. You can do reports on threads. There's a lot you can do back here, and again, I'm not an expert to dive into one of these specifically, but you can pull reports specifically on communities, mentoring, all these different things you guys will have training on, which is above my head. I apologize for that, but you guys can pull those direct aggregate reports as you wanted and as you just mentioned.
1-800 call Rachel. She'll be our IT person.
There you go. That's the advantage of having other Kellen clients on the platform, and the fact that you guys will get access to like the HireLogic users group, because you can ask those questions and find out those answers really quickly.
Excuse me, Steve, this is Ante. Going back to the tags and the keywords that you had mentioned earlier that you can add,
Yep.
Is there a certain taxonomy list that that's built, or is it just members' preference?
Both. So you guys can build in the taxonomy list, but over time, if members manually add tags and keywords, those will automatically become that list. And we can do some, you may be wondering, like, oh, you might have duplicate tags and keywords. The system can realize that and consolidate as well. But the answer to that is yes in both situations there. Any other questions while we're here? I'll take silence again.
I have a question, but it's just to the Kellen Group as a whole. Is this tool, are we seeing it with existing applications? Just retaining current membership? Is it adding new members? Is it bringing in corporate sponsorships? What's the?
It can do any of those, any and all of those, depending on how you use it. It is primarily invested for a member engagement tool to kind of bring your member along the path of engagement. The more engaged, the more involved they are, the more they're doing with you, the more likely they are to renew, to stay with your organization. Some organizations do choose to use it as sort of a new member draw, so you can create communities where they can get kind of the taste for connecting with your members, even though they haven't engaged yet. So you can have a hybrid where customers come in, they may not have joined yet, but they get a sense for what IOPP is about, and then before they can go too much farther, they need to join. There's also opportunities in the platform to self-sponsorship, so that you can look at supporting the cost of the platform through advertising or sponsorship. So those are all possibilities. It just depends on where you want your focus to be and how you want to use the platform.
One of our clients also uses a great deal for knowledge sharing and document sharing, not just like within the board minutes and that kind of thing, but hey, I have this great example or this great case study of blah, and they put it up. Happy to use it, or they have a slide presentation that they've used to explain some sort of concept or technique, and they shared that and used that. So there's a lot of document sharing in terms of case studies and ways, documents that are useful to the community at large, membership, or within an interest group, or maybe there's documents within the food group, or within cosmetics, or within whatever packaging specialty might be. You might set up subgroups of those, just talk to that group because they don't want to talk to everybody, they just want to talk to those people. You can create different types of value here.
Yeah, and the nice thing is you can combine IOPP sort of official resources that you want to make available, and then also enable the members to share their own resources, right? So you're working at two different levels, and then slicing that by your communities based on their interests, geography, professional specialty, whatever you set up, so that those, because there's different levels of information. You want IOPP's information to be maybe front and center, but then also allow for anybody who has a fact document, a best practice, share those, by specialty. So it works on different levels.
And the nice thing we've seen is with people sharing documents, then other people can look at that document and rate it, or star it if it's a really good document. And people can go on and go, oh, other people think this is good, and so you get that community sense of value.
And that's where it'll help you with your member engagement, because let's say a new member comes in and they say like, I've always wanted a strategy plan or whatever they're asking for. They can come right to the community and find several examples that others have already found valuable. Right away they're connecting with a resource or whatever the example is, rather than kind of wading through and trying to sift through stuff themselves and figure out what works for them. They're tapping into that institutional knowledge that you have right away.
So I'm curious, with some of the knowledge sharing that's going on, do you find it's just if you're sharing documents and they're looking for a document to get an answer, are these communities also advancing a topic? So there's a certain topic they're focused on, and they're the industry experts, and they're advancing that within that community itself and giving out answers or inputs to that extent.
I would say both. It depends on the client. Some clients who have really active committees and a lot of committees, and they do kind of specialized work, and they use it to exchange that specialized knowledge and make sure they're having secure discussions if that's important to them, that they can kind of speak freely, and then the knowledge is kind of flying about, and it's all documented. That's the nice thing. If somebody comes in, joins that committee, or it turns over every year, you can see the history. Others, it's a little broader. It might go a little broader. So you can go both broad or deep, or a combination.
If any of you guys who are just answering those questions want to work for Higher Logic at any point in the future, then
I use the tool at other organizations and with clients. So
No, I appreciate that's all really good. And I think what the overarching theme there is every organization can have a unique strategy behind their community. You know, whether it's a retention tool. I mean, engagement yields a lot of results, but how we hone in on those results is part of that strategy. Whether it's new member acquisition, whether it's sponsorship, and I don't know, those different channels on that front, or purely a new member acquisition tool. You guys have the flexibility because the platform can kind of coincide with whatever those goals may be. And I think there's a big advantage of having Kellen clients on this already, is because they can see what those folks are doing. Granted, every organization is different, and your strategy might be different, but you have the tools and the support to try out those strategies and see what works best for you all. So I want to show you a few things. I'm going to show you the regular directory. I'm going to show you the expert directory. I'm going to show you the mentoring, and I'm going to briefly touch upon volunteer as well. So first and foremost, how are members going to search for each other? So say maybe you met some members connected with each other at an event, and they wanted to find that person. They got their first name, but they didn't get their last name or where exactly they were from. So the member directory can support a simple search, right, where you can search for those folks in a simplistic fashion. But you also have more advanced criteria as well. So you want to get granular with the perfect person that you're looking to connect with. You can search for folks by community. I want to see who else belongs to this specific community. I want to find folks who have similar certifications or interests to me. And you guys, from the staff perspective, can decide what each one of these different sort of fields actually is. These are just examples here. But one of the cool things, and it's a bit of demo candy that I like showing off, is the location search. So members can search for each other depending on where they're located. You guys don't have to use this, but it's an option for you. But say I'm a member and I want to find folks who are also located, in the greater Washington, D.C. area. My zip code here in Virginia is 22209. I hit enter, and this will actually pull up a map embedded within this interface here from Google, where I can physically see on a map where other members are located. I didn't know Liam lived near me. Now we can maybe meet up for a happy hour or whatever it may be and talk about this issue I'm having. I can have that conversation within the community, but if I want the in-person element, Liam looks like a great person to connect with. Just in an example there. To show you the mentoring. Again, because you guys essentially have all the bells and whistles of a full website here, you guys can devote a page within your community just towards your mentoring program, where within this page you might have fun things like mentor testimonials, a list of most active or featured mentors, the different programs you offer, and then some fun videos about why I should be a mentor, the power of mentoring, or 3 tips to becoming a better mentor, whatever it may be. But say I want to get involved. All they have to do to actually enroll in mentoring is, you guessed it, enroll in mentoring today. Once I do this, it's going to lay out a simple 1, 2, 3-step process to get involved in a particular program. Everyone already has a profile. I'll show you this in a second, but you don't have to start there. You've already done that step. Say I want to enroll as a mentor. All I have to do is hit enroll as a mentor. And now this will open up a status to where I can adjust how often I want to be a mentor and when I could be a mentor and how many mentees I could take on. So I can say, hey, my really slow season for me is February 20th through, July 9th. I'm willing to be a mentor for that time. I'm willing to take on 2 mentees during this time as well. And now I can save this. Now, once I've updated my status as a mentor, I can go view my mentor profile. So every member is going to have their own regular profile. And if you guys went with expert, they're going to have an expert profile, which I'll show you in a second, but also a mentor and a mentee profile. Because as you can imagine, you can be both a mentor and a mentee. You can have all the experience in the world and teach about these particular topics, but there might be some areas that you want to learn in and you want to mentor for that. So you can be both a mentor and a mentee. You can see that latest status that you just updated. You can see any existing relationships you have. You can designate which mentoring programs you want to sign up for. In this example, it's student and interns or professional and retired, but again, you guys decide this. If my internet catches up with me this morning, that'd be nice. Don't know why it's going so slow. Maybe I'll try hitting refresh. So within this single page, I can also update a bio specifically about my mentoring experience. I can say and designate which topics I'm an expert in, and again, you guys decide these, but in this example, I'm a marketing, networking, and social impact and Spanish expert. And then I can decide which venues I prefer to do my mentoring, whether it's in person, over conference call, email, webcast, whatever it may be. And then I can designate how much experience I have as well. And then I'm done with this, I've raised my hand within the community as a mentor. If I'm another member looking at Steve's profile here, I can send him a mentor request. I can also send him a mentee request. But say I want to actually search for somebody. I want to find a particular mentor. I go to the drop-down tab, I hit Find a Mentor, and this is where I can search for folks. I don't know who this person is yet, but I want to find somebody in the Professional and Retired program. I want somebody who's near me here in Arlington, Virginia. I don't want to do that. I hate how Google or Gmail or Chrome automatically populates like that, but the rest of this is right. And I want to find somebody who is an expert within technology. Hopefully this yields somebody for me. Now I can see that I have 3 people who have met my search criteria. I can go look at Bobby's profile, his mentor profile, and see if he's a good fit for me. I can see his experience, I can see his relationships, his particular areas of expertise, whatever it may be, and I can send Bobby a mentor request. As you can imagine, because we have those awesome automation rules, you can have an automation rule to automatically connect folks who belong to a mentor program but haven't found a particular mentee or mentor yet. And you can facilitate that relationship automatically, which is really awesome. Any questions on the mentor match module?
No.
Cool.
I was watching faces.
Fair enough. So expert directory. So I'm sure you guys being, IOPP being a pretty unique organization, but also well known within the industry, you may have other similar organizations or associations reach out to you guys and say, hey, we need somebody who's an expert with within this field to either complete this task or maybe even speak at their particular meeting. IOPP staff might say, hey, I know maybe 20 or 30 people off the top of my head. But the expert directory is built to find that exact person based on that particular criteria. So say someone reaches out to you or members want to find somebody on their own who's located here within the United States. Let's just say, I'll do a broad US search. Or maybe let's do a Virginia search to make things easy. I want to find somebody also located in Virginia who is a specialist in, let's just use technology again, just because it's easy, but I don't know who that person is. Now I'm going to search for this person, and I can see that I have some similar options here in terms of particular experts who might fit what I need them to do for me. So let me look at Grant's expert profile here. So now I can see Grant, I can see what his expert bio is, what his areas of expertise are, how far he's willing to travel for particular speaking opportunities or whatever it may be if it's necessary. Does he have a fee associated with his expertise or his services? And I can see other presentations or examples of his work as well. Cool thing is that if I'm an expert, I can have a friendly URL to promote myself if I so please. So this makes an easy and very intuitive system for you to find that particular expert that you might be looking for, whether from a member's perspective or from a staff perspective. It's really easy. Any questions on the expert directory? Moving on to the volunteer. The volunteer, first and foremost, has a ton of capabilities here that I won't be able to get into all today. Because this is an example of how sort of in tune HireLogic is with its clients. Volunteer Manager was built because clients kept asking us for it. We survey our clients all the time and we ask them what we can do better, and the Volunteer Manager is a direct correlation to that. But within this system, again, similar to mentoring, let's devote a page to your volunteer programs. We can see your most active volunteers, what opportunities I can sign up for, programs I can be a part of, and taking the core piece of the community, engagement and collaboration around it as well, where I can connect with other volunteers around a particular opportunity. But say I want to look and see what this complex task for the organization is all about. I can click this opportunity. I can see a description behind it. I can nominate other people to do it if I think they're going to be a good fit. I know to reach out to Liam if I have questions. I can see how many slots are open, how much experience is needed, how many points I'm going to get because of this. So an overarching theme is that you guys get to create these volunteer opportunities. And the really cool thing is because there's criteria specifically for this opportunity in terms of experience and not, what you exactly need in particular to a volunteer experience, the system could automatically find folks to reach out to and then leverage an automation rule to send out an email to particular prospective volunteers to ask them to volunteer. So it can be, something handing out water bottles at a 5K. It could be volunteering to translate a document into German. It could be serving on a committee or council. It could be anything simple or complex that you need somebody to do. And you can have the community and leverage those tools behind it to track engagement, track the volunteering hours, and then see what exactly it means in terms of real dollar value. So if I go into the back end here and I go to my sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying it could help a chapter send out to their members, you know, we're looking for board of directors, we're looking for help on a committee, and directly get to their chapter membership.
Exactly. And then in the back end, you can see what exactly that means, where you have this dashboard, this volunteer administrator dashboard, where you can see how many hours have been contributed, what dollar value did those hours save me in terms of if I had to go out and actually contract somebody to do these things, how many points have been accumulated, how many people have volunteered, and all these different graphs that you can see. So you can bring some direct analytics behind your volunteer programs. You can see a list of volunteers, most active, most points earned, whatever it may be. Cool thing is you can devote a community to just volunteers. So when somebody signs up for an annual meeting, put them in the annual meeting community. Somebody signs up to be a mentor, put them in the mentoring community. And if somebody signs up to be a volunteer, put them in the volunteer community, whatever it is. So guys, I wanted to see, first and foremost, if you had any questions for me. I know we're, want to leave some time for some questions and answers. So I want to see what questions you might have. And more importantly, what your thoughts are. Do you like the platform? Is it something you see IOPP members using? And more importantly, do you see it as something that can help drive engagement and the business goals around engagement for IOPP as an overarching theme?
Love feedback from the board.
So this is Ante. I've actually used Higher Logic and another organization I'm a part of. Cool. And some of the different modules. So you actually reminded me to respond to one of my mentees while I was sitting here. But
there you go.
I never responded.
That's awesome.
But so I like the integration piece of it. I think, with our multi-generational membership, base, that there's something that can benefit everyone. Just thinking about some of the executives or the retired base, for example, that might be a good candidate for mentors, some of our tenure people, and so getting them back involved, so looking at what's in it for me, so after I've retired, what else can I do? How can I give back? And looking at some of the younger generation as a point of information perspective, so that coaching, that executive mentoring, and the data, right? So the analytics piece of it. So I think we always need to understand what's driving our membership, where things going, where we're seeing interest, how we become more agile and making changes. But having that information in real time makes sense. So.
Yeah, and the thing about data too is that especially this upcoming 2018, this is going to be a big push for us. We just brought on somebody as our new chief product officer. I don't know if anybody from Kellen attended our Superforum conference 2 weeks ago, but everything that we're doing for the future is data driven, right? We want to make data more easily visual, more easily accessible to those who need it. So you guys can essentially do more with it, because our platforms overall together provide much more data than really any type of software out there in terms of real valuable data, in terms of what members are doing, what's driving membership, those type of things. So there's going to be a lot more things coming down the roadmap, even within the next year or two, about ways in which our clients are going to be able to taking advantage of that more, and then more additional tools and visualization aids that we can provide for you all in the future to help you guys be able to manage and do more things with that information. So more to come on that, but yeah, I think you have some really good perspective there about how do you get involved when you're retired. The mentoring is definitely a great way to do that.
Now, for the board's benefit, I think I heard you say this platform's usable through smartphones.
It is completely.
I can see an application as well for technical committees to have them have their own little space to do things.
And as administrators, we'll be able to track what the technical committees are doing. To me, this is a huge tool, not only around membership engagement, membership drive, We've been talking about micro-credentialing. It allows us to do that. We have the Consultants Council, and we have the Speakers Bureau, those kind of things. This builds into those themes as well.
Right.
It integrates right into our website. So we do when we're talking about the website upgrade, this would be part of that package. So new look, gives us fantastic news going out to the chapter. I would go to a chapter, hype it up that National is coming out to roll out their new latest gadget. Have these guys, if they're willing, if we do Higher Logic, to do this exact same kind of thing at a chapter meeting, get everybody jazzed. It just, to me, it's huge, but
it's a huge new benefit. You know,
sponsors can get their.
Some of you will remember when we were trying to figure out how to do the Ask the Expert thing and get volunteers, we just couldn't pull it all together. This is where we were trying to go.
This is what we were trying to work towards.
Set up their community to post their meetings to their members. It doesn't replace us posting all the national information. It doesn't replace it, but
I could see where it could make the IOPP website less complex to set up, to create, because this is embedded in it instead of having to create all this from the ground up.
Yep.
And the onboarding part, I think, is really nice because it will help keep track of that. I mean, that's so hard to do when you have so many different people joining at all different times, you know, and to keep track of following up with them and making sure that they feel welcome.
We just need to figure out cool ways to use the gamification to keep them coming back, because people do get nutty about that. I've got 23,000 points, or, you know.
They do.
I'm at sugar candy.
Everybody is competitive.
And that's what Will was talking about in the last meeting, where he whipped out, there was some game that he's the master. So, yeah. What do you think?
I like it.
I've enjoyed it. Everything I've seen so far, it really hits on a lot of buttons that we're trying to accomplish through engagement, you know, and all these things. I like the fact that it is then smartphone, you know, accessible. That really opens it up to that. This drives it to where we need to be going, you know.
I think it's huge.
That mobility
to
feature.
Log in too, to respond and get into those groups. Because that's what people are doing outside of IOPP now. Now we've got a way to bring them back.
Bring them all in.
And it's Facebook for packaging, only simpler. I mean, that's really what it is.
That's a very good description.
Then you guys get access to all that data too, which is you don't get through maybe a social media site. It's yours.
Right.
Our reporting needs,
No, I think it brings us into modern age.
Woo!
It'll depend on.
I heard a foot.
No, not that bad.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what I said.
I mean, that was my question up top.
2008.
Here again, benefits and rewards versus investment.
You're going to find out till after lunch.
We gotta feed you for, you got the wine lined up for lunch, right?
Yeah. We may need tequila for this one, I got a feeling.
But with this implementation, you still have control over the base web page. And I'm just thinking again about benefactors and how obviously we have a piece of that where we would need to maintain that advertising.
Yeah, and I know that I wasn't here for the first presentation, but I understand there are many areas here where we could break out and create banners and get that kind of coverage. So that's why I didn't ask the question. I already had the answer.
And again, he created this layout, our layout, when we do our new website refresh, design. We can make it look.
You can make it look exactly the same. So I want to be one system for your members.
Yep.
And the nice thing is Kellen is a partner with Higher Logic, and so we can offer Kellen clients preferred pricing at a discount from a standalone association where you would get a discount on the. That will all be something.
Exactly.
Cool.
Can you link into other platforms?
That's
Can you, Steve?
Steve.
Yes.
Can you link to other platforms? Like within PepsiCo, they've introduced Yammer, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be able to interface with.
Yeah, so the platform is very flexible, and we have an open API. So typically we play very well with third-party applications where you can embed different things within the community. You can even expose community content through other systems you may have as well. Say you have sister sites or whatever it may be. We do a good job of essentially being able to mold around other platforms and pull other platforms in as well.
So let me ask a direct question. This is Win. There's a conversation going on in LinkedIn. How can we have a trigger or something that all of a sudden pulls that conversation into IOPP? People might not even know that they've moved over to our space.
It's a good question. So we're not actually going to be able to like automatically pull somebody into the community from LinkedIn, but as a best practice, you might, this might be an extreme measure, you might promote the community within the LinkedIn community for a while, and then you might also, and this is, you don't have to do this, might be a strategy thing, you might put a close date on that LinkedIn group and say, hey, this is being shut down at some point in time in order to get everyone fully over to the community. So while members can pull in LinkedIn information for their profile information, we can't like automatically pull them over based on a conversation they're having with LinkedIn. So there's some strategy around it in terms of promotion, but there's also some strategy around it in terms of shutting down the LinkedIn community to get all those users onto your website and your community.
And again, this community is IOPP members.
Exactly. And then there's that whole strategy thing, or if you want to have some open content.
Yep.
Right.
But if we're going to use it as a way to pull people up, we're saying this is going to be used for new membership. I'm just trying to figure out how that's done.
Yeah,
yep,
so
well,
let me speak to that.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so the idea around ways to pull people in is that you can, again, because you guys can build many communities, you can have a truly open community, which can be open to the public. That is a good way to tease membership and tease the rest of the community to people who are non-members as a way to help say, hey, this is what you might have access to once you become a full member. And the cool thing is that because a lot of this content might be open, it makes your website and your community so much more searchable. Because a lot of that content is crowdsourced naturally through search engine optimization. If somebody were to search something in Google or Bing and they're not a member, they're going to be drawn to the community. You can tease the community content and tease some of that community functionality to non-members, but then, hey, put up a wall to a certain point and say, hey, you must be a full member to access the rest of this. And you can skin parts of the community so where people who are members may be able to post things in an open community, but maybe their profile picture isn't there, maybe their information isn't there, to where you can strategically sort of have teaser content as a way to draw new folks in both through the content perspective and a search engine optimization perspective. And that can just be one community. Because again, this is an overarching community, but you have sub-communities within the overarching community as well, and you can tailor one of those to help draw new folks in.
Steve, this is Barbara. I have a quick question regarding when we flip the switch and turn this on, do the existing member profiles, the basics automatically transfer into the community?
Yeah, and then a lot of that will be configured during implementation. Essentially, most of our clients want to have one profile, and that'll be sort of lived in through Higher Logic. Certain triggers, like contact information and dues renewal, that'll still technically be done from a technical perspective through the database, but it'll all look like it's in Higher Logic. But yes, that'll all be figured out during implementation so that when we do flip the switch, they have one profile, but essentially most of it is done through Higher Logic.
Right, then we get to enhance, they can enhance it with the new features that we would provide.
Yeah.
But if there's information we don't have on our members that we would want on their profile,
Right, then we would reach out.
we put those in, and then as they're upgrading their profile, they can,
But I think that's so you can pull your LinkedIn profile in.
yeah.
You can pull your LinkedIn profile, information that you do have within the database you can have in the profile as well, and you can also leverage a lot of that automation if you want more information to prompt members to fill out particular fields within their profile so you can capture that information.
Because we don't
Make that a
have
bet.
as much information about our membership as we would like. So if we
You
get
will
them
after
to, exactly, we can,
I was just concerned about the transfer over, if that would be a manual process for the staff.
No, we've done it. We're standing up 2 clients a day at this point, and that part of that structured implementation process is figuring that out.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
any other questions for Steve?
Existing members that he's got, I don't know how to ask this.
Oh, who are some of your clients?
No, just is your database open to us as far as who you've already got through other clients? So if someone's got the word packaging in their profile for some reason and they're a member of some other thing.
So the question is will we have access to anybody else's Higher Logic communities to send them? Say it's the packaging machinery guys, we're the Packaging Institute. If another organization has the same system, is there a way to link the two? Is that the question?
I
Behind the scenes, we have to get mailing lists.
I don't necessarily know. My inkling says no, because you would be able to have access to other clients' information. But I'm not really.
And we wouldn't want anybody coming in and getting our mailing list either.
Exactly. So I would say no.
Higher Logic has its own site, and, you know, it's a standalone secure site, so it's not shared. You know, it wouldn't be something that you just like your database, there wouldn't be a connection there unless you went on your way to create.
Okay. So we're not getting any clients out of this. Okay.
We take security pretty seriously, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that though either. I wouldn't necessarily say you're not going to get any. Because the word will get out if this is a valuable tool to them. People will talk about
Well,
it.
yeah, day one, we don't get
Right,
we don't get
he's
access
going
to
behind the
10,000.
button.
Right, no.
Connect to connect. Yeah.
Well, and the beauty of it though is we're not selling an empty library. We've already got a library of 3,000.
Right.
And once those tell a friend,
Yeah.
I think it's a huge value add to members.
Yeah. Members won't come to an empty community. Part of that implementation process is beta testing and developing content schedules, so when members log in for the first time, there's conversations already happening and it's already sort of thriving.
Cool.
Yeah, one thing I was going to add is that for all the magic that you showed, there is, you know, this is not a build it and they will come automatically. There's care and feeding to be had in any community. And that's going to count on content matter experts like yourselves to start some of those conversations, keep some of those conversations going, to actually respond when someone says, hey, does anyone have an example of a blah? And someone can respond to that, or you know somebody that might be able to respond to it, and you make them, you know, on to start those conversations. The one thing that Higher Logic does well is to support its customers with best practices and tools, and there's a Higher Logic users group that some of us belong to that we get memos about, hey, you know, here's a new way to engage people in this, or, you know, and so they do a really good job of customer service and customer encouragement, I guess, so that we can pass on best practices to you in terms of how you might use your community in a different way, or ways, you know, even if sometimes it's a different way to write your subject line in your memo or something like that. It might be, you know, just easy tips on attracting people and the response to things. So Higher Logic is really robust when it comes to customer service and keeping us all current on what's going on with it. It's cool. But it does,
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It requires somebody maintaining it and.
Yeah, and it's not, you know, it's not necessarily going to be Rachel or,
Yep.
you know, or Barb, because they're not going to
Combination.
believe them. They're not going to know, you know, they're not
We
going
don't
to
know
know them as
nothing about
experts in your field. They
Yeah.
to talk.
The more you put into it, the more you will get out of it for sure.
Yep.
Totally understand.
Any other questions for,
You look like you're formulating a question, Auntie.
I'm always that way. Hey, Steve, just one last question. For the community piece, and we're, I guess, talking about having some of our technical communities maybe being a part of that. Do you find any value in having, I guess, a steward for those communities, like someone who's helping to keep the conversation going that's a part of that community? Or is it more help from an external piece of that, like what's happening to you?
It's a fine line, right? Because you don't want, you don't necessarily want like IOPP staff, trolling the community to a certain degree and posting and replying to things. That you want that to a certain degree, which helps sort of continue the conversation. But I would suggest if you guys have any champion members who you feel confident could be sort of a champion for their particular communities to answer questions, keep the conversation going, then by all means do it. You need folks like that within the organization to get the most out of the community. So if you have folks within the organization who can be that champion, you can absolutely do that. And I would suggest doing that. The more you, again, it's not the field of dreams, like I think, I'm not sure who said that, but if you build it, they won't just come and use it. There has to be a compelling reason to do it. And then part of that is sort of dishing out or delegating the responsibilities and the community management across multiple parties. And that could be an avenue to do so.
Right. And hopefully some of our communities they have a defunct structure already, so maybe that default structure can help to encourage, a steward or some role to help with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, you were talking about, Jane, you were talking about looking at data and seeing what people are up to. That's also something you can do with your technical committees, because something I've picked up in some conversations I've had with you is that some are very active, some are doing anything at all. And if you can check in every quarter or something and see if one technical committee has never started a conversation, never has gotten involved, somebody, from the board or whatever can go in there and just say, hey, guys, do you remember the tool we introduced to you last September, and maybe you want to start doing this, and encouraging them, and then they have a tool, a fairly easy tool to use to do that, and it'll get your committees a little more active and keep them active. Or if they're just dead, then they're dead, and get rid of them or do whatever. Helps you maybe gauge really if there is relevant activity going on there, or if you're just forcing the issue by having this thing.
Awesome. Any other questions for Steve before we let him off the?
Sounds like a no.
Everyone's just looking at each other, Steve.
Yeah.
I hope that's a good thing.
It is.
Thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through.
Anytime, guys. I appreciate your time. I will follow up with the recording. Do you know who you want me to send that to?
Steve, this is Nancy. You can send it to me, and I'll give it to the right folks.
Okay. Will do, Nancy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Have a good day. Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.